Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. So I was hunting around on Reverb as I normally do, and I came across this listing that just blew my mind. An EDS-1275, aka the double neck guitar. But just looking at this thing, I thought it would be fun to quiz you guys. What year do you think this guitar is? Here's a quick look at the top. We've got the full-on body shot. A closer look at the headstock here. And here's the backside of the 12-string neck. And here's the back of the body. Okay, so do you got your answer? Let's go ahead and go through my first thoughts. So this tobacco sunburst-like finish that's on this thing, sometimes you find these occasionally on 60s custom orders, or just on 60s ones in general. Like I initially thought of like the hollow-bodied version of this guitar. And here's another vintage one before they went to the solid body format. But like, here's an example of what I was talking about from 1964. But this finish completely reminded me of that. If somebody told me this was a late 60s double neck, I probably would have believed them. So if your guess was true vintage, you're incorrect. But we've got witch hat knobs on here, which might point us to the 70s. You've got 4 pickups as you normally do on these things. Now the Nashville style bridge would have to put this one after 1975 though. So that's a spec that definitely rules out that this cannot be a 60s model. So now we move on to this photo. I started to think, okay, is it a 70s model? Because those headstocks are really 70s inspired. Like, I'm impressed. That's the cool difference between like the 60s and 70s double necks is the 60s ones have the Gibson mother of pearl logo. So generally, if you see a silkscreen, that means you're going to be within the 70s. For example, Alex Lifeson is well known for using a white EDS-1275 from the 70s, and Gibson did a custom shop reissue of it, where, once again, they have those Gibson logos and silkscreens. So then swapping over to the back, you got the same finish that was on the front, and then we've got the necks. It appears we have 3-piece maple necks on these ones. And the first thing that made me go, oh my goodness, is looking at the 6-string headstock. I could not believe it the first time I saw this. This is a modern day double neck? They did a fantastic job on this thing. Just that photo alone, if they would have had ABR1 bridges on it, there'd be no way to tell the difference. That looks so ridiculously vintage. But no, according to the serial number, that would actually put it to 2011, and it was made in the Gibson custom shop. Now, another giveaway factor are the very large volutes. The modern day volutes, when they do them, they look a little bit different than the vintage ones. And of course, this photo shows it in the modern day case, but man, that is one of the nicest looking EDS-1275s I've seen come out of the modern day custom shop. But to be fair, 2011 was quite some time ago. But this one was listed for $7,500 on Reverb by Watchtower Guitars. The listing's currently ended, which means they probably sold it within their own shop. It doesn't surprise me somebody fell in love with that, because I thought it was cool too. Guitar number 2 to talk about comes from the Les Paul Goddess series. Now, if you need to learn all the in-depth details of the Goddess, you can check out the multitude of reviews that I've done. I've documented every single color of this really cool run. Essentially, it was a guitar built for ladies. It had a slightly shrunken down body, but not reduced scale length. And they offered them in all these really cool colors. Violet Burst, Rose Burst, Ice Burst, Sky Burst. I think these have a really cool collector value to them in the future, and they've definitely been going up in price consistently over the years. But this thing right here, billed as an Ice Burst, has to be the ugliest one I've ever seen. Like, at first when I saw these photos, I was like, did somebody refinish it in natural? Like, that's actually kind of cool. But then this photo got me thinking, you've kind of got some splotchiness right here. What happened to this thing? So we continue to scroll through here, and that's when it became evident that no, this is not a natural finish. I initially thought maybe somebody tried to refinish it in like a tie-dye manner, so I was like, okay, all right. The back looks pretty cool. It's got some good wood grain and figuring, but then I saw it. Oh. Now, normally, the Goddess series gets a colored over logo, but Ice Burst is one of the few colors that didn't because, you know, white naturally matches the Ice Burst color. But when I saw this and being all yellowed over, especially the nut, it made me realize this is a super sun-bleached guitar. It's either that or it lived in the home of a heavy smoker, and all the tar in the smoke has just discolored this guitar over the years. And that is definitely not an authentic Gibson case, but I give the Chinese manufacturer of that one a pat on the back. Thank you for being so blatant that you were fake. So I kind of became curious about this thing because all the photos, they weren't quite good enough for me. I wanted to see what it actually looked like. So I was expecting this to sit on the market forever and then maybe the price drops down to about $1,200 and then it would have been fun to check out. But no, to my surprise, this thing actually sold relatively quickly. And then it got flipped by another dealer that I definitely know of. This guy lists stuff on Reverb all the time. However, when he relisted it, it was only like $2,100. So that means he must have haggled this guy down pretty good, about to the point where I wanted to purchase it at. Guess I shouldn't have waited and just went direct for the offer. But here we can actually see what it looks like. Yeah, it's like, I really do not know how this happened. It's cool that it still has the original blue pickups though. Like if I were a Les Paul Goddess collector, I would kind of want this one because sure, it started life as this and now it looks like this. It's just kind of almost like a weird custom colored tie-dye type thing going on. It's really ugly, but at the same time, you know, kind of unique. Reminds me of a cow, I guess. But yeah, in there, IB, you can see the original finish. That's some discoloration though, because you can't even see the burst portion anymore. But I guess technically, you could have somebody remove the clear coat and reapply it, and the original finish should technically still be under there if it wasn't refinished in general. I thought it was strange that this guitar got picked up strictly to flip though. I thought for sure that'd be a, you know, you have to want this guitar to play it type deal. But to my surprise, it actually sold relatively quickly. I mean, that was listed a month ago, and who knows when it actually sold, but it did sell. But for my money, I'd probably pay $500 more just to get one that's clean like this. It still boggles my mind how, you know, it goes from looking like this to what we just saw. But to be fair, that other one did have a really cool back. And the third guitar for tonight's episode is an ES-340 TDW walnut finish with a Bigsby. Apparently from around 1969. I saved this one in my watch list because we just talked about these on the Jim James Signature 335, the boring brown guitars as some guys call them. Sometimes they can be quite exquisite, and this is one of those times where it's like, sure, it's not flame figuring that you're normally used to seeing. It's almost like a fur coat type thing. It's just got an interesting figure to it. And this thing is just absolutely beautiful. And on top of that, I thought, hey, a good time to teach people what is an ES-340. Because you're probably familiar with the 335. So according to this website, 335s have that typical selector switch, like they're saying here, neck bridge and both pickups. But the 340 was wired to be pickups in phase, out of phase, and off. Why? So essentially, both pickups are on at all times, and you can just control the phase. So in phase, it's going to sound like a traditional middle position, and then out of phase is going to be that weird quacky sound that, you know, sounds fine for certain situations, but not perfect for all of them. And then off, kind of interesting. It wouldn't surprise me if a lot of these things got rewired, despite how crazy those things are to wire. But as far as specs, it looks like they still have the same top, back, and sides, and they still have the maple center block. But it appears the biggest difference is a 3-piece maple neck with 2 mahogany stripes down here instead of walnut like we see a lot on 5-piece necks. Man, now that I know more about it, I kind of regret not buying this one. That's kind of a interesting guitar. Like, I don't know that much about the ES-styled instruments. I've had 335s, but outside of that, I haven't had much. But sure enough, we can see the maple neck on this one that has been heavily played in. But you've got that cool quilty figuring on the back of this one as well. And it looks like it even went as crazy enough to go onto the sides as well. Then of course we've got that characteristic 69 style headstock. And yeah, this one has a Bigsby, which I'm not a huge fan of, but okay. So it's like a 335, but with a maple neck and strange switching opportunities. Now you know. So those were the 3 I wanted to share with you guys tonight, but I think we've got a little bit of time, so let's go ahead and see if there's anything just recently listed. Like this thing. So a Gibson EBO, but somebody put a jazz bass pickup slanted in it. Okay. You see this quite often, people modifying these old Gibson basses. You know, it's not they're modifying them today, it's they were modifying them back in the day because they just happened to have one and they wanted it to be more versatile. How much more versatile could you get? I guess it really depends what type of pickup they put in it, how much it hurts the value. Like if you happen to get an expensive vintage Fender pickup out of the deal, I'm sure it doesn't hurt the value all that much. And to be honest, these EBOs aren't that expensive for a vintage guitar anyways. Like this one, they're asking $2,000, which seems a bit high. But ooh, perhaps the market's just changed a little bit since I last looked on these. I mean, you can find a few of them that are a bit cheaper, but perhaps a player could make them an offer and have a very interesting bass that, who knows, maybe we'll see this get reissued in 20 years as a signature guitar for someone. And ooh, that's a rare reissue to find. It appears to be the actual Lucy run from 2013 with the characteristically dark 3-piece top on that one. I don't think I want to talk too much about this because I'm sure one day I'll find one to review and document. I like these custom artist guitars that are limited edition. I mean, there are some from this time frame that they didn't make a lot of them. They're super highly iconic and they went up in price like crazy. But if you have one, congratulations, you have something really rare. Alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.